Welcome to another episode of GTF, Gabriel Talks Football. My name is Aldo Gandia, and a couple of housekeeping things. If you are on Facebook, make sure you register. Go over to StreamYard.com/Facebook. So that way we can see your comments in the chat room and then put up the smart ones on the screen. And if those people watching on YouTube, give us the thumbs up, share it, leave a comment, let other people know about how great I am and that and Greg is well behaved on this show. Speaking of Greg, let's bring him in now. Greg Gabriel, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Greg, I had a really, really good weekend, and I'll tell you why.
Because the White Sox beat the Cubs twice in a row.
Well, I'm kind of a polygamist. I root for both teams, but they were great, exciting games. That's what I care about. I don't care who wins.
The end of yesterday's game was crazy.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. That was really good.
The White Sox go up by 3. Cubs come back at the top of the 9th, tie it.
Yep.
That was in the extra innings. Cubs go up by 1, and then at the bottom of the 10th,
bam, 2-run shot.
Yeah, it was like crazy.
It was fantastic theater. And then the Chicago Sky are proving to be a good, young, exciting team with some veterans. Saw some really good golf. Did you see any of the PGA Championship?
Yeah, not as much as I probably wanted, but you know, I none of the leaders that I was interested in were there, so I didn't tune in.
Yeah, the guy that won RAI, I never heard of him before, and I was kind of, oh man, I wish it was somebody I knew and stuff. But the more and more they kept sharing this guy's story and how well liked he is that his wife is a professional golfer down in South Africa, and he's super polite and stuff. I started rooting for the guy after I was making fun of his name.
What I liked was Saturday night I watched the Sabres-Montreal game.
Yeah, how did they do? I didn't get a score on that.
Okay, so Buffalo scores 28 seconds into the game to go up 1-0. Montreal scores then on their next 3 shots. And like the first period's only half over, and Montreal's up 3-1. Buffalo pulls their goaltender and scores 7 goals in a row.
What?
to win 8-3, force game 7, which is tonight.
Wow!
In Buffalo. That game was in Montreal. No, what's crazy about the series? The road teams win all the time. Nobody wins at home.
That's wild, and you rarely see that.
Montreal's won 1 at home. Buffalo's won 1 at home. All the rest have been won by the road team.
That's wild. So how long did they pull the goalie out? Was he out for?
No, they didn't pull him. They changed him.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
They pulled the goalie, put in the other goalie. That guy threw a shutout for the rest of the game, so 2.5 periods, and then Buffalo just went out of scoring range. I mean, they scored 3 or 1 more in the first period, 3 in the second, 3 in the third and just, blew out Montreal.
Wow, that must have been fun to watch. It reminded me, your story reminded me of when I first started watching hockey in the late 60s. They used to have a playoff tiebreaker that was like the second or third thing down was how many goals you scored. And so the Blackhawks were tied to get into the playoffs, and they needed to score a bunch of goals in order to make up the advantage. So, like in the middle of the third period, they pulled their goaltender for the rest of the 10 minutes of the game, and they had extra attackers. All they were trying to do was, score goals. I think the score was like 17-9 or something like that. It was wild, and that's never happened since, because I think that particular game, the NHL changed the rules because they thought it was a mockery what the Blackhawks did and the high score and stuff like that. But it was, for a kid, it was exciting.
I just like playoff hockey. Regular season hockey can be kind of boring.
Yeah.
Playoff hockey is so intense. It's a lot more physical.
Yep.
Every minute means something.
Yeah. In 2010, when the Hawks won the Stanley Cup, I think they were only 25 regular season games because of a strike. And that season was so effing exciting because it was, you knew every game had to be critical in order to get to the playoffs. With the 2 regular season games in basketball and hockey, 162 games in baseball. It's way too long for my taste anyway. All right, we got to talk some football here, and I want to start with this. TJ Watt is said to be on the trade block for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Should Bears fans be hopeful, or is this a pipe dream? I think I got his salary numbers here somewhere.
Probably 20-something million.
He's got it's not pretty. He's got a cap hit of $42 million and a dead cap hit of $94 million.
He isn't getting traded. I mean, let me ask you this, because I never heard that until you just said it. I mean, who starts some of this stuff?
It came from a local reporter in Pittsburgh, because the feeling is that Nick Herbert is a free agent at the end of this season, and they need to free up money to sign him, a younger pass rusher linebacker.
So you take a $94 million hit? That doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. The contract would have to be renegotiated before a trade could even be considered.
Well, and why would he do it? Let me get into over the cap here. Get into Pittsburgh.
People are saying no on Watt, but the Watt players are good players. In cases
it's when these things come up, number one, they never happen.
Yeah, true.
But let's see. Okay, he's got a salary of $32 million. The signing bonus is 10. Okay, so if he got cut, the cap hit is $94 million. Okay,
cut him.
But the literal cap hit, the guaranteed salary is $32 million. The cap hit is the remainder, because the new team takes on the salary. Okay, so now you got the prorated signing bonus, which is 10, 20, 30. It's $30 million left on the signing. That's the hit, is the 30, because the new team is taking on the base salary. They just got to pay for the thing. So the hit's not that crazy, but he's 32 now for this year. So he's 32, 33, 34, and you're paying him in base salary $32 million this year, $32 million next year, and $21,050,000 the year after.
So it's, with that contract, it's not going to happen. Although Jay Grizz says, you did say, in all fairness, you did say something similar about Mekhi Parsons a year ago, and he was traded to the Green Bay Packers by the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys got something good, but the Cowboys had not given Parsons a new contract. They didn't take a big hit. He was on his rookie contract.
Oh, that's
Green Bay gave him the contract,
and now they're stuck with that big deal, and he's injured.
Well, yeah. He should be fine this year. So that was a whole different type of situation. Here you're taking on a contract of a guy that's 32 years old. And it just, stuff like that, at that kind of money, I mean, you can never say it's never going to happen, but it's unlike something Poles has done.
Yeah.
You could say, well, he got Tooney. Tooney cost half of that.
Yeah. And the fact that he's been injured is also a concern.
And Tooney never gets hurt.
Yeah, and TJ Watt had some good numbers last year, but he only played, I think, 9 games. So that's the issue. We're going to digress here for a second because Triple R wants to know, Greg, does Bennett have a dog run or sectioned relief area in the yard, or are his large landmines scattered all willy-nilly? That's a very personal question.
I had a invisible fence.
Yes.
Okay, so I had it put in, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. And because the dog we had before that, when he got older, wandered, and I didn't want this dog to wander, so we put it in. So now there's a break in it somewhere.
Oh no!
So, but where? I mean, it goes all. You know how big my yard is. Yeah. It goes all around the lot, and so just for them to come over to make the house call is like $182. Then it's fine. It costs that much to put in a new one.
Yeah. Geez,
so I take him out on a leash. In the winter, I let him go because I know he's not going to go far.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want him. I'm not letting him out now and then have him, wander in somebody else's yard or whatever.
Yeah, the first time I went to your house, I didn't know anything about invisible fence, and here comes this dog, and I'm like, oh shit, this dog looks like he's gonna take a bite out of me. And then you said, don't worry, it's an invisible fence. And I go, thank you, whatever that is.
Well, at that point, I think it was still working then. Uh-huh. But even after it broke, he wouldn't cross the line because he gets zapped. Even though it was broken, he wasn't taking a chance. Then he figured out, wait a minute, this isn't working here. I can escape.
He's a smart one, that Bennett. All right, let's get back to football. And I saw this just before we went on live here, as we do every Monday at 11 a.m. Central. Courtney Cronin this morning sent out, per a source at the NFL League meeting in Orlando, Florida tomorrow being Tuesday, there will be a special briefing on the Bears Stadium. Club and league staff will update the 31 clubs on the progress on the only 2 viable stadium solutions, Arlington Heights and Hammond, Indiana. Greg, this is just posturing, is how I take that. The NFL is trying to put pressure on Illinois, so they're laying this news out. We want an update.
Here's the deal, because I looked it up to find out. The spring legislative session is done the 31st.
That's right. It's okay. They don't get it done by then.
If it's not done then, it isn't getting done. And,
right.
and you can call Hammond, Indiana home. But right now, there's still so much posturing by a few Chicago legislatures, the mayor's freaking idiot. I mean, I've never seen anybody. That guy's like totally out in left field. So anyway, I just don't see this getting done for the state. I hope I'm wrong, but it just, they've had March 18th. This is almost 2 months. It is 2 months ago. March 18th, they got the bill from the Illinois House. 2 months later, they've done nothing.
That's
the Senate's done nothing.
That's unbelievable. And then Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, gets involved by saying he's going to try to block, I'm paraphrasing, the move to Arlington Heights. And
he can't block anything. That guy's got more talk, and it's all nonsense. There's nothing he can do to block it.
But here's something that I read that is kind of interesting. If true, Brandon Johnson may have done the math on this. And because Hammond is closer to the city of Chicago, which is which is what he's responsible for, than Arlington Heights is to Chicago, he might want them to go to Hammond because it will be more of an economic benefit for his city. Now, I can see this guy doing something stupid like that.
Well, I wouldn't call him the smartest guy in the world. But, if people are going to come into town to see the Bears, they're going to stay downtown. Mm-hmm. But you know what? They're going to probably stay downtown to go downtown and see downtown if they coming in the games at Arlington Park. I don't think that's going to mean much of anything, one way or the other. That's my own personal opinion. But I just, my stepson and I were talking about it the other day. I just said the way that some of these legislatures are arguing and just so steadfast against it, that I don't see it going the way most people want it to go. And that means and the Indiana deal, it's just too good from a business standpoint.
Yes,
it's too good to turn down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have storms here in Arlington Heights. I don't know if they've reached.
No, we're supposed to get some. It's just starting to rain now, but it's not a storm.
Yeah, so if there's something happens with my signal, stay with us. We'll try to get back on the air as quickly as possible. But because I just heard the thunder, and I normally don't here in the man cave, so it's coming down. All right, let's get to the topic of the day. We've got three major topics: Caleb, and the surroundings around Caleb, and then we're going to talk OTAs. So let's start with Caleb and talk a little bit about where he was at in 2025 and where we think he should get. On the screen now, you will see that he threw for 3,900 yards last year, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and that completion percentage was 58%. But a lot of people are, thinking that's a bad thing, but we'll talk about why it's so low in a minute. But first, I want to ask you, Greg, as someone who has scouted quarterbacks, where do you think Caleb is after his second season? Do you like the progress that he's making? Do you think he's behind? Do you think he's ahead? Share your thoughts on him.
I think he's probably ahead of where I thought he might be. The first year was a disaster. I'm not going to say it set him back, but it didn't help him go forward. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he basically had to relive his rookie season last year with Ben. Got good coaching, ran a good offense, had some mistakes. Bottom line is the only thing that really wasn't good was the completion percentage. Mm-hmm. Touchdowns were good, kept the interceptions low. He's done that for 2 years. Even as a rookie, he didn't have very many interceptions. Mm-hmm. I think Chicago may have led the league in drop passes, which would have brought his completion percentage up over 60.
Indeed.
Compare him to one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the league right now, Josh Allen. Now, Josh didn't have the college career that Caleb had, but he finished his career. He didn't come out early. Josh was 2 years in a row, like 54% and then 58%. Mm-hmm. And then in year 3, most of the year, he was up over 70 and finished at like 68.9.
Interesting. Okay.
And that was his 3rd year in Brian Daboll's system. And they also brought in Stephon Diggs. So this is now Caleb's 2nd year in Ben's system. But I think he's got a pretty good grasp of it. Excuse me. And I think it's, they have that benchmark line of 70%. That's hard to do. There's not too many guys. If he gets 65, 66%, he's having a hell of a year.
Yep.
Put it this way. He had 39. He was like 40 yards shy of 4,000. And there was a couple games where the weather wasn't very good either. I mean, I keep saying this, is that one of the reasons nobody's thrown for 4,000 yards is because playing outdoors in Chicago, and you know it's not conducive to good weather in December, and that's going to hurt your passing yards.
I will tell you this, because I agree totally with you. I've been of that opinion for several years now. But his arm strength is able to cut through a lot of that drizzle that you get in the that lake effect drizzle and snow.
Oh yeah,
heavy air.
There's no question about that. And he throws a tight ball. In fact, it was Jim Fossil, may he rest in peace, who was head coach for the Giants my last few years in the Giants. He was the one telling me, he's a pretty good quarterback coach. And he was telling me that while arm strength is important, it's how tight you throw the ball. And I said, well, why is that? He goes, a tight ball will cut the wind.
Yeah.
A loose ball, the wind will push. And he always throws that one right there was a tiny bit of a wobble. But for the most case, he throws balls like that, which are darts. And, so the wind isn't going to have that kind of effect or much of an effect on that kind of a ball that, say, somebody who throws a looser ball.
And Greg, you mentioned, the 70% passing, and we know that that's something that is a Ben Johnson goal for this quarterback. I put together this graphic. Ben's goal is 70% completion. Caleb has stated that he wants to become the Bears' first 4,000-yard passer, and there's no reason to believe that he won't reach that goal this season after just falling short, less than 100 yards. And some of my research says that most modern quarterbacks are hitting 68 to 72%. But as you rightly said, these drop passes are a big issue. Why the Bears are not. Caleb lost over 400 passing yards due to drops, and that was the most in the league, according to Next Gen Stats, and they're much better at this stuff than PFF. So I take this with a high degree of validity. And in that divisional round game against the Rams, the Bears had 3 drop passes, which lost 37 yards, and that included 2 drops by the guy who I think is the most reliable pass catcher, Colston Loveland. But Ben Johnson says, we're going to work on this because it was a problem last season.
Yeah, that was a point of emphasis for the offseason program, which means, work on the jugs machine, concentration on stuff, and it's just something they gotta do day after day after day, and a lot of it's concentration. It's follow the ball into your hands.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, Greg, that a lot of people fail to realize that's important and why Caleb isn't closer to that 70% is just the fact, and Ben Johnson kind of works against himself, is that he calls so many explosive plays. The Bears generated 127 explosive plays. That was just 2 behind the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen, Caleb Williams, there's a lot of similarities there with arm strength and the big play capability. And then the other thing is the Bears passing game had the 6th highest explosive play rate at 15%, 112 explosive plays. When you want to throw the ball in the air for 20, 30, 40 yards, it's going to be harder to complete passes.
Well, yeah, he's one thing they want him to do more of, and they've Bennett said this, is take the easy one.
Yep.
And that alone brings up, it moves the chains, and it brings up, your completion percentage. Okay, a perfect example of what you're talking about was a game winner, but it was a crazy throw, and that was in the going backwards, throwing to the corner of the end zone off his back foot to
Cole Kmet.
And that 98 times out of 100, that ball's getting picked.
Absolutely.
And he threw it right on the money. I mean, just an unbelievable throw. But that's because he is who he is. Not too many quarterbacks can do that.
That's Superman quality.
Yeah, that's why you're looking at this in a very positive fashion. Everything's on the upbeat. It's his second year in the system. Not only his second year in the system, everybody else's second year in the system.
Yeah.
So they're a year ago now. They're learning cadence and they're learning plays. Now they're practicing. It's a whole different type of situation. And you got to bring the rookies up to speed, but it's not like they're slowing down for those guys.
Right.
They got to do extra work to catch up.
Now, how much will the loss of DJ Moore impact those explosives? Because a lot of those explosive plays were with the combination of Caleb to DJ. We saw it against the Packers, the game-winning touchdown, and so forth. So do you think that's the explosive plays, that high percentage of plays that were explosive for the Bears in 25 could come down a little bit?
Well, you can look at it that way. I mean, he's a loss. And they haven't really found a guy to replace him. Luther's in his second year, so he's going to be that much better.
Yeah.
Okay, it really took him a half a season to become a real part of the offense. And part of it was, he didn't play that much first half of the season. They didn't trust him.
Right.
And they said, if we can't trust you to put you in there, you're not playing. It's real simple. So they got to do the work. But he is up to speed, so he should be that much better this year as far as the offense. Same with Loveland. He's going to be that much better, and Rome's healthy. Yeah. Okay, knock on wood, they all stay healthy. Then you got a big play guy from Detroit, Khalif Raymond's here, who, so he's not DJ, but brings another dimension.
Right.
And then you got the rookie.
Yep. Yeah, let's take a look at that wide receiver room. I think I left the name out. I forgot to correct it. But Odunze, he needs to.
White is gone.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. Squirrel White is gone late last week.
And then you got Scotty Miller in.
Scotty Miller should be indeed a speedster who played with the Steelers for a few seasons.
Well, Steelers in Tampa Bay, and he's worked with our wide receiver coach.
That is awesome. I kind of see him as a camp body, but you never know with some of these guys.
He's better than that. He's had some production down in Tampa Bay. He did not have that production in Pittsburgh, but he's also, he's a local kid, and he's a sub 4.4 guy.
Yeah, he's fast, that's for sure. So they definitely added speed at the wide receiver position with Xavier Thomas and with Miller. So we'll see how those guys do. But speaking of fast, Rome Odunze is no slouch.
Janae Walker is in his second year, so he should take some sort of jump.
Yep.
How big a jump, that remains to be seen.
So Rome is expected to be the number one wide receiver. What are your thoughts about Rome? He got off to a great start those first 4 games. I think he had 5 touchdown receptions in the first 4 games of the season. But then injuries caught up with him. Do you expect him to kind of resume where he was in those first 4 games, or are you concerned?
No, I'm not concerned. The reality is this: you got a lot of good guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you got to try to feed them all.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be weeks when Rome's going to get fed and somebody else isn't. But the guy, I think the constant is going to be Loveland.
Yeah.
He's not as fast as some of those other guys, but he's just so much bigger and he's so long. So, I think he could end up being the leading receiver.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. It depends how how the whole thing shakes out. But there's a lot of weapons, and so you could concentrate on taking out one guy, and there's too many other guys there. And then with the rookie Xavier Thomas, that they're gonna at least to start out the year, he's going to be a gadget guy. They're going to have a package for him.
Yeah.
Maybe it's only 7, 8, 9 plays a game. But those 7, 8, 9 plays a game could be difference plays.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Here's the thing about how I now judge who the number one wide receiver is. not necessarily targets or receptions, but snaps. How many snaps are getting? Because when Rome is out in the field, I know we're going to get good blocking for the run game and for other pass receivers and ball carriers, because that guy blocks really, really well. So if he catches 60 passes, but he's out there for 80% of the snaps, and we know he's getting the job done with blocking, he's a number one receiver to me.
Okay, now here's where, when you try to look at it logically,
okay,
the way the game is moving a little bit, the direction the game is moving, and how Ben wants to use the game is the usage of tight ends, and where he played a lot of 3 wides last year. I think there's going to be a lot less 3 wides this year, a lot more of 12 personnel, and then obviously 13 personnel. I already said Durham Smythe had like over 300 snaps, including the playoffs last year. So you know how many times they used 13 personnel with that many snaps that he had. But I think you're going to see 12 personnel, and Raymond's going to be more, I'm not going to say gadget guy, but you're not going to see as much of him unless they like pull Cole and have Loveland as the tight end and have everybody out flexed out, not using a Y, which is a possibility too. And then you got a problem too, because Khalif Raymond, he's a sub 4.4 guy. You got a lot of speed in there.
You got a lot of speed, and I know sometimes fans, say, well, who should we drop or who should we trade? No, keep them all, because 17 games over 18 weeks, people are going to get injured, and you need that depth in today's NFL.
Yeah, and people, Cole Kmet's getting traded. No, he's not. They just redid his contract. That told you right now he's here for a while.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I started speculating about this weekend is that Colston Loveland could end up being the top target for Caleb. And so I went and did some research, and Brock Bowers, with 112 receptions in 2024, had the most receptions, targets and receptions. In 2023, Sam Laporta led his team, the Lions, with 86 receptions. Travis Kelce has led the Chiefs in receptions 8 out of the last 12 years. So my anticipation is that it is likely that it's going to be Colston Loveland who is going to catch the most passes for this team in 2026. What are your thoughts?
No, I don't disagree with you. He's a big target, sure-handed. He's going to move the chains. He's more athletic than Kelce, probably not as powerful. He's like a bigger version of a Sam Laporta. Brock Bowers is only a 6'3" and a half guy who runs pretty good. They're not the same type of body type, but he's a good player. But Bowers' number, I think, in 25 dropped off considerably from the 24 year. But they also had a change in the coaching staff too. So how he was used between 24 and 25 changed.
Yep, it sure was. And he got nicked up a bit as well in 25. The idea of Colston Loveland being the number one receiver for this team kind of excites me, because it means, more, to me anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, is more ball control, a shorter passing game, methodically moving the ball downfield, keeping the defense off the field as much as you can. Mix that, power passing game, so to speak, with a run, an effective run game. The Bears could end up, I saw one prominent sports writer said the Bears are going to win 13 games this season. Maybe, if everything works out with the offense and the defense doesn't disappoint, maybe. What do you think? You like the idea?
I don't disagree with anything you're saying.
Yeah,
and part of your record is luck. It's momentum. It's luck. Injuries, obviously. It's going to be interesting. is the best way to put it. And knock on wood, they stay relatively injury free at key positions, and then they'll be fine.
Indeed. So another key besides this passing game gelling without DJ Moore for Caleb to take another big step in his career is the offensive line. And the big thing, of course, is that battle at left tackle, where it appears that it's going to be Braxton Jones versus Jedrick Wills. And both of these guys have very similar numbers, at least, when they came out. Braxton is 303 pounds back then. Wills is 307. Arm length, 34 and a quarter for Wills and 35 and 3/8. You think that's a noticeable issue there? Arm length?
No, they're both real long arms.
Yeah, big hands too, 10 inches or larger. And Wills actually has more experience than Braxton. I was a little surprised. He started 57 games, and Braxton has only started.
Well, I think Wills came in a year before, didn't he?
Yes, you're right. He
and then he missed. He took off all of last year to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And really in 24, I don't think he played a lot. I don't have the games in front of me. But
so, go ahead.
If Braxton plays like he did before he got dinged up in 24, he's doing a good job holding the fort.
Yeah.
And he's obviously got a lot better coaching than he had.
Mm-hmm.
If Wills plays like he did when he first came into the league, you got a steal for $1.3 million or something, and then you can take your time with Theo coming back, but at the same time, Ozzie coming back. At the same time, he's a competitive dude. He's going to want to be out there, so he's going to do everything he can to get on the field, and all that is a good situation.
Yeah. I as I'm putting together this graphic, I pulled some clips from Jedrick, and he has good balance. But one of the things I notice about him is that he doesn't sustain the blocks for very long on some of these clips. Now again, I only saw like 24 clips of that, but when you scouted him, what do you recall about what his strengths were?
It was a while ago. I mean, he was a dominant force at Alabama. Big, athletic, strong. There's a reason why he went in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
He had all the tools to be a really good player. Like that, I didn't like that angle he took out to the linebacker right there. But that's just me saying that. But see, he can get outside on the edge. He can move his feet. That's pretty good combo right there.
Yeah.
Going from the inside to the outside and then adjusting on the move. That was a hell of a job in pass pro there. The guy, he's legitimate upper echelon talent.
Mm-hmm.
He's had issues with a knee. How good are the movement skills? I think the year off will probably do him good. But like anybody else, I'm throwing a dart at the wall. But, you know how I felt about Braxton all along.
Yeah, indeed.
And I'm not ready to, I know probably a lot of fans are. I'm not ready to throw Amagaji in the trash can yet.
A lot of people are wondering if, like, the guy nicknamed Vanilla Gorilla can take over for Amagaji, but Vanilla Gorilla is an interior. Guard. Yeah, he's an interior.
He's a guard. He has played a little tackle. He's not going to be a left tackle. If he does anything, it'd be on the right side. It would not shock me that when it's all said and done, Theo ends up inside.
Yeah.
Because of the arm length.
Indeed. By the way, just to digress a minute, somebody asked me about the hat, and that comes from tallybrand.com. You go over there on their website, they got great hats, the Shy hat, the FGB, F Green Bay hats, great shirts, and they're expanding their product selection. So visit tallybrand.com. They are fantastic. And
he has been doing a ton of stuff
yes.
on X, and he doesn't. I looked up his followers. He's only got like 1,800. You got to follow this dude. He's trying to grow his business.
Yep.
He's doing a good job.
He really is.
I try to retweet a lot of his stuff if I see it. I want to get one of those, lightweight hoodies. I think those are really sharp.
Yeah. Well, I'll get you one. You got a birthday coming up, right?
Just had one.
Well, there you go. I missed it. That's right. You just had one 2 weeks ago, I think it was.
Yep.
All right.
2 weeks ago today.
Kay asked about Ozzie Trapillo. If we get great production, very good production out of these left tackles, Braxton and Jedrick, do you think that the Bears could make the decision, Ozzie, just sit out the season and come back in 2027 fully 110% healthy?
Well, we kind of touched on that. He's a competitive dude. He's going to want to play.
Yep.
But the final answer is going to be polls in the coaching staff.
Right. Well,
and they got the unknown. How good are these other guys playing? If these guys are playing good, whoever it is, are you going to want to make a change for the sake of making change? I don't think so.
Yep. I agree with you. Well, and last season, you floated the possibility that Braxton could be traded, and it was based on the argument there's a lot of depth at the left tackle position. If somebody starts to take that position, then perhaps Braxton, if it's not him, perhaps he could be trade bait. And that could apply this season, not just for Braxton, but any of these guys that are competing for the left tackle position. Correct?
Yeah, more. I would say more trade deadline, but you never know. It could happen in camp too.
Right.
Where I think they purposely put out this narrative that, oh yeah, he might miss the whole season, blah, 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 because I think they were trying to, and I've said this a number of times, they wanted everybody to think they were going to take a left tackle when they never were, and it was just to throw people off, because right after the draft, Ozzie's doing pretty good. Yeah, just he's got certain ways of throwing out meaning polls, of putting out certain narratives, and he's done it now 2 years in a row. So I mean, he's going to have to change his way a little bit next year. At least I can see through it. But so far the fans don't. But that doesn't mean that they'll finally catch up to it.
Right. Berlissimo does tons of tape work. He says, I think Jedrick has bet on himself, and he's demonstrated to have a much better anchor than Braxton when
that's a given. That's a given. Braxton's got to learn to sink his hips, and if he doesn't, he's going to have a problem anchoring.
Yeah, indeed.
It's not that he can't do it; he's just got to do it.
Right. And I saw an interview with Tom Thayer, and he was actually saying that Jedrick Wills might be the biggest steal of the offseason for any team. And he went on to say, I know that Braxton has been in the weight room doing tons of work, but what he really has to work on is the lower part of his body. I don't know much about, weight training and anything. You can just tell by my body. What I know, a lot. How difficult is it to add muscle to the lower part of a body, particularly for someone who's 6'5" and over 300 pounds?
You do the right stuff, you can get stronger, but part of it is just natural girth. The big bucket guys.
Yeah, the big butts.
They got some natural power sitting there. If you got a narrow hip guy, I don't care how strong he is, he's going to have, an issue with anchoring.
Yeah.
And, but with Braxton, It's not that he has a small butt, it's he gets tall.
Mm-hmm.
And when he does sink his hips, he anchors a lot better.
Yeah, yeah. I like Braxton. Every time I see the guy interviewed, he just has a pleasant personality.
In space, there's he is one of the best tackles in the league in space.
Yeah,
when you see him downfield, he's good.
And Wills is not too bad at that also, and that's one of the things he likes most about playing the offensive lineman. He says, I love to get out in space and clobber those little guys downfield.
Now, Wills, when they signed him, and Ryan said this, and we haven't seen Wills. I don't even think we've seen photographs of him working with the Bears.
Right.
Okay. It said he's got to fix his body. He was probably a little heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't worked in an NFL weight room in a year. So what he's done this off season and what he does between the end of the OTA period and the beginning of camp is going to be very important. Because, I mean, you see him there like in tape when he was at Alabama, he was like a dancing bear. I mean, he could really move his feet.
He's got good footwork, yeah. There's no doubt about that. Look at him get out into space here. Boom! I like that. Yeah, I got high hopes for him. It's he did the right thing, which is why when people say maybe Ozzie should sit out a year, Jedrick sitting out last season was probably the best thing he did in terms of investing into his career as Berlissimo.
Well, he had a couple injuries, I think. I don't.
I can tell you exactly what happened. A player fell on his knee, tore some ligaments, but the biggest issue was that his femur got misaligned, Greg, and so that was the complication. And when he re-injured that's when they discovered that the femur was misaligned. And he says, "Well, I'm going. The only way to fix this is with rest and rehabilitation." That's why he took 2025 off.
I don't know how you realign a bone without breaking it. I mean, I'm just guessing. Seriously.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
I don't know that. I mean, that's above my pay grade.
Well, you're seeing the doctor this afternoon. Maybe he could. But
he's an internist, not a.
Okay.
Not an orthopedic.
Yeah. So overall, in order for Caleb to do what he's got to do, how are you personally feeling about the left tackle position? And do you think that the Bears might still be kind of open to looking at potential candidates?
I think that is, some fan talk that they're not looking for anybody.
Yeah.
If they were looking for somebody, he'd already be here.
Mm-hmm.
They'd want him, working with the unit because the offensive line takes time to gel. You look at last year's production, they had 3 different people playing tackle last year, and the overall production was actually pretty darn good.
Oh, it was very good.
Okay. They didn't lose a game when Theo was playing at left tackle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then, excuse me, Ozzie comes in and really played well. I mean, so you're thinking, wow, look at the upside this guy's got. So I think part of it is Dan Rochar, the job he and his assistant do, and working with these guys. And I'm not the least bit worried about that position. Braxton, has had a long time now to get totally over his injury that he was playing hurt because he had to play last year.
Right.
Okay. And he really shouldn't have been playing.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back too soon. He got, he lost weight. He just wasn't ready to play. And so they had to go with Theo. And you got to give Theo a lot of credit. I mean, he was a practice squad guy, didn't play American football. He played Canadian college football, and stepped in and did a hell of a job. But I think his future, because of the arm length, is inside, and that could be, when Thuney hangs it up, that could be Thuney's replacement.
Yeah. If I recall correctly, Tooney has one more year through 2027 in his contract. Joe Tooney, the left guard.
Let me look.
Anyone in the chat know? Because
I can look it up. I can go to Over the Cap here.
Overthecap.com. Do a little commercial for them. Some rumors are flying around. Mr. Watts, who we talked about earlier.
I don't listen to rumors. Rumors are for clickbait.
That's for sure.
Okay, let's see. Thuney's contract runs
2 more years.
26 and 27. He's got a base salary of 16 this year, 16 next year, prorated signing bonus of 5 each year. He's got a roster bonus net 27 of $1 million and a workout bonus of 500,000.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me take a look at
no guaranteed salary in 27. So, if he had a bad year and you want to get rid of him, you're losing $5 million on the prorated signing bonus.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, I got it sidetrack here. Why are people talking about Watts like something has happened? I'm looking at Twitter. There's nothing there. Anyway, Cam Jordan rumors are heating up too. I'm with Greg. I don't think anything's going to happen.
DA was specifically asked about him,
mm-hmm.
and he answered, and I'm paraphrasing, yeah, we had some good years together. We're not really thinking about him right now.
Yeah.
And the one thing that these guys do, I say it over and over again, they're so damn transparent.
Yeah. I love it.
My gut feeling on this is that they're going to go through, they got another 4 weeks,
mm-hmm.
go through the 4 weeks or 3.5 weeks they got left, see what they think of everybody at that point, and then make a decision. Is there and if in the meantime Cam Jordan signs somewhere else, then he signs somewhere else. Don't forget, he's 37 years old.
Yeah, he's a 1-year player.
And
rental.
Yes, he had a good year last year. Yes, he knows the system.
Mm-hmm.
I think reality is they want these young guys to come on.
Yep.
And they're going to give them every opportunity to do it.
Yep. And somebody had a question about Tooney's contract. And it was Chief Latero about what happens in 2027, because you said that year is not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed. Well, if he plays the first game, it's guaranteed.
Gotcha. So if he plays well in 2026, they'll probably go ahead and guarantee it. Is your
well? What didn't he win the award as the best offensive lineman?
Yep. I'm not expecting any drop off, to be honest with you. That guy's headed to the Hall of Fame, and he's going to.
I call guys like him, they're pros.
Yeah.
They're solid. He doesn't look old. He doesn't get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Stays in good condition. He's always at the top of his game.
Mm-hmm. I really, and the fact that he's that way, I think rubs off on the other players on that offense.
The other thing I want to bring up, because there's a lot of people who think that Jones is going to win the center position.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe sometime during the season he could.
but unlikely. But unlikely to start the season, you're saying.
Right. Yeah. Give me a minute. Let me.
Sure. I got you on mute. Go ahead. Greg's seeing the doctor today to check in on what's going on with that cough. I'm going to play doctor here. It's the weather. When the weather changes like that, a lot of people, who've had respiratory issues.
Anyway, getting back to Jones. Physically, yes, he could step in and play. It's not the physical, it's the mental.
Right.
It's what they asked that guy to do. The center is the glue of the offensive line. He runs everything. You know, if it was an orchestra, he's the conductor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and everything runs through him, makes the line calls, and so you need, especially in this kind of offense, an experienced guy.
Yeah.
Now, you know, and after they drafted him, they basically said that. They said, but it gives us, if somebody goes down, it gives us, you know, the opportunity to slip in a really good player. I think Bradbury's on a 1-year contract, the remainder of his contract he signed in New England.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a one and done guy unless he plays superlatively. And then you're going to have Logan Jones, who will have a year in the system. Now, again, could he slip into the spot in the second half of the year if Bradbury didn't play good? Of course. But, you know, Bradbury played just about every snap for the Patriots last year. They only went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be a reliable player for us, Bradbury, and that depth at center is fantastic. Now, Bradbury is solely a center. If there's an injury to one of the guards, he's not a candidate to play out there, right? Okay. The one good thing about this team is that they are building depth not only on the out with the tackle position, but the interior of the offensive line with some of the young guys that they've drafted, some of the veterans that they have. If something tragic happens to one of the starters, they could be in good shape, better shape than some teams that have done some research on, like the Lions. They don't have any depth in the offensive line. Levante says, do the Bears keep 3 centers? One in the practice squad is what I would say.
Well, you know, I think that the depth in the competition this year, I don't have the Bears roster up in front of me, but you know, like the one kid with a street free agent they signed who had played a couple of years in the league, he ends up starting a playoff game and plays really well. And Luke Newman played really well when he had to go in for Jackson during the season.
Yep.
You know, they were hoping he could be a center. He did have some problems in the preseason snapping the ball in a game, not in practice. But, I mean, their depth at guard is really, really good.
Yeah, it really is. I'm impressed by what Poles has done. Best Meat Marinade asked the question, can Braxton Jones be a swing tackle? He's played a little right tackle early in his career, but
I don't recall him ever playing on the right side. Maybe you're right, but he started as a rookie. He gets drafted in the 5th round. So, and he won that job during OTAs.
Yep.
He went into camp as the starter his rookie year.
Because of his athleticism.
Yeah. And so, now, could he have played some snaps? I just don't remember. Maybe he has, but I don't remember it.
I might be fantasizing about it, but I thought he did play some snaps at center. So we've talked about Caleb Williams. We know that he could take another substantial leap this season. He's got the weapons. That Colston Loveland at tight end is going to be huge for him. There's outstanding skilled players who have to develop in terms of, Jade Walker and Luther Burden and the Savion Thomas and so forth. Roma Dunze is going to help tremendously. Talked about the offensive line. Let's switch the conversation now, Greg, to OTAs. What can we expect is going to happen at OTAs, which start Monday, I believe, at Hallis Hall?
Like, how about right now?
Oh, is it today? Really?
Yeah, today. I think today is the first OTA. Okay. It might not be till I might be off by a week, and it might be next week.
Yeah, I thought it was next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because know why I'm wrong? Because they have less OTAs than anybody else.
We talked about it last week, right?
They could have had 3 more and could have had 3 this week, and they're not doing it. It's interesting. So yeah, they're starting next week in the 20s, but it's just they're so far ahead of last year because everybody's on the same page. They've already been through it, except for the rookies. So now it's just, getting everything fine tuned. So when you get to camp, you're probably going to be a month ahead of where you were a year ago when you get to camp. And so it's keeping guys healthy, find out what the new guys can do. How good are the guys coming back from injury? By the way, Terrell Smith, I kept saying Terrell Smith's going to be fine for OTAs. Terrell Smith put out on Instagram last week, I'm good to go. So
awesome. Stay healthy, Terrell. Please give us one healthy.
No, there's going to be some competition on that in the defensive backfield too. But I think the OTAs is just fine-tuning the offense. Just getting it that much better than it was a year ago. Some people might underestimate how important it is that these guys have been through this once before.
Yeah.
It's a very complex offense. And so now when you're in year 2, it was year 3 when Detroit really took off. But if you look at it the way Ben tried to explain it, he goes, I did more with Chicago in year 1 than I did with Detroit year 1.
Yeah.
So, I think theoretically they could be what Detroit was in 24 offensively,
which was pretty awesome in 24.
Yeah, when they lost, then they lose in the playoff game, and he's here 2 days later.
I love that. D. Starin asked a question: is it a good idea to bypass these OTAs? What's behind that thinking by the Bears?
That was the Ben's. I asked Bigsy, and he goes, "It's his decision."
I wonder why. What's behind it? Yeah.
Well, he's using. Obviously could have done some this week, and he's using it more for teaching.
Yeah.
Instead of offense against defense, it's how you structure your practice. That's all. The only difference between what they're doing right now and what they're doing on OTAs is that you can't go offense against defense right now, okay? But you can in OTAs and mini camps. So you're going to have 9 practices offense against defense.
Okay.
And here it's a lot of individual, a lot of offensive team, a lot of defensive team, just not against each other. You're still getting a lot done. A lot of walkthroughs and stuff. I think you can do walkthroughs. You can do offense against defense, I guess, but you can't do it, full speed.
Right. Well, and he has said.
That's a good question.
It is.
I don't have an answer. I just know that he made that choice. Now, the one thing I wondered is, can he change his mind? And I think he's. To me, it says that he's a lot more satisfied with what he's got here than
has to be
publicly says.
Yeah, he has to be, because this guy is a hard worker. He's not going to take it easy on these guys like Matt Nagy did. He's going to work these guys if he sees the need for it. The one thing that I find interesting is he talked a lot about this coaching staff teaching the basics better than they did a year ago. And so I would think that they would take advantage of the OTAs to really focus on that. But
no, that's what you use this time for.
Right.
You're working on the fundamentals. This is the OTAs next week. When you got these individual practices, you can go off for like 90 minutes or something. A lot of it's individual. That's when you work on these fundamentals.
Yeah, indeed.
And teach the technique and everything else. So it's how you utilize your time. It's, and I'm not going to argue with the results he had last year. So, say, well, why isn't he using those 3? He doesn't think he needs to.
When it comes to criticizing Ben Johnson, I'll take a pass on that. I'm not going to do that. All right, Sandman had a question here, and let's see what it says. Does Poles not prioritize pass rush as much as other GMs, and does he not believe drafting edge talent? Lots of people have said this year was a weak edge class, but Poles has done this every draft. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, if you look at the way the drafts have fallen, it hasn't fallen that way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, if you like, certain guys I like or whatever, but then when you see, I don't remember who was there when they took Logan Jones, but obviously they wanted Logan Jones,
right?
So it's, you at that point you've seen the improvement Booker has made with his body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you drafted Shamar Turner to be in the second round last year to be a pretty good player. You had each won a half season last year. You had, and it's like it's a broken record talking about Dale. The fans hate Dale. The coaching staff loves Dale. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they only had him a half a season. Yet him and Shamar Turner basically gone at the same time.
Yeah.
So you weren't playing with a full deck of cards, at least from the standpoint of what the coaching staff wanted.
Right.
And then you got Booker coming in. It took Booker a little bit of time to get going. Now, hopefully, if they're all healthy, they're going to hit the ground running come September.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll say it. I think it's not a dead issue. They're trying to see what they have.
Right.
There could be guys available.
Mm-hmm.
There are some veterans available. There could be a guy available in a trade.
They have to be feeling good about Dale's rehab, don't you think?
Yeah, gotcha.
And I like what King Booker World says here. I think that it comes down to them taking the seventh best defensive end or the best center on the board, and I think that had a lot to do with it. They know
it's not just that, but it's the grade that you have on the player.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, theoretically, the seventh best edge could be a higher grade than the first center.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't know what their board looked like, and we're never going to know what their board looked like.
Unfortunately, I'd pay to see that board. I'd love to see that board. You don't have any documents like that, a list of your board when you were with the Bears?
Let me look in this thing here. I might have some old atlas.
That would be so awesome to see.
Well, no, but the hot list was just it. I just don't know if I have any in here.
Mm-hmm. Did we talk about this last week? Yeah, we did. Last week you mentioned the issue with the Bears were going to draft James Starks, who went on to have a good, solid career with the Green Bay Packers. You had him on the phone.
Told him he was drafted.
Yeah. And
something happened in the room, and I wasn't in the room. All I know is that Jerry came in and goes, "We're taking the other guy." And Stein and me are in my office. Stein's talking to the agent. I'm talking to the kid, and Stein goes, "You can't do this."
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. But
how pissed off were you? You had to be pissed off with your buddy Jerry.
I didn't like being put in that position.
Mm-hmm.
That I had the kid on the phone, and then so the kid's happy, and now you got to tell him, "I'm sorry, we made a boo-boo," and the agent's really pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Then we say, "Okay, look, if you're still here in the next round, we will take you, and we'll I think we're going to try to take care of him monetarily and stuff. So the difference wasn't going to be too much. And he got picked like 4 picks later.
Yeah. To Green Bay. Do you mind if I share with the audience who it was that Jerry selected instead of?
I don't know if it's all Jerry's. I don't want to go there.
Okay.
I say I don't know what happened. I do.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
But I it's like it's not worth bringing it up.
All right, but it is interesting. That is not exclusive to the Chicago Bears. That happens in a lot of NFL.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking it was late in the draft now. We're not talking second round.
Right.
It's like the 6th round.
Day 3, right. Day 3, indeed. It happens, man. And hopefully we won't get another situation like that in Chicago. They've taken drafting to like a science now. They rehearse things, everything. There's just different ways of doing things nowadays. So hopefully that type of stuff won't happen. Best meat marinade wants to know about Zay Frazier. Why was he waived? Waived because he can't play anymore.
No, whatever the issue was wasn't resolved or came back. That's the best way, I guess. To me, that's the only way you can describe it. I do not know what the issue was. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to ask. It's none of my business.
Yeah.
So, somebody may know, but they just decided that it's time to move on.
Indeed. And, oops, didn't mean to do that. It's, and they've imposed that, I'm paraphrasing, but we will do a better job next time of checking these guys out, for any issues and stuff, because clearly they drafted them not knowing everything that
they said that the issue came up after they drafted him.
Okay, so it's something that did not happen while he was in college.
Yes, the issue came up actually. Well, it was in between OTAs and camp. He took part in all OTAs, and there wasn't any issues.
Well, I wish the young man good luck.
And I don't want to say I think it's so and so because I don't know.
Right, we don't know, indeed. Let's see if I got any questions here. I think we've tackled everything. Tooch had asked earlier, do you think Xavier Thomas is going to pick up substantial amount of snaps now that DJ Moore is gone? And that's something that he's just going to have to win it. He's going to have to earn it, just like
I think when the offensive coordinator was talking, he said it best. Mm-hmm. He's got to learn it in the classroom.
Yeah.
Make sure he learns it in the classroom so we can trust him when he's on the field.
Yeah.
Okay. And it just go back to Luther. Mm-hmm. And it took Luther almost a half season to get trusted.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But now once he reached that trust level, he was pretty good. What they don't want is to put a guy in. He's not, from a mental standpoint, he's not ready. He's going to blow a play, and blow a play can mean a touchdown going the other way. Run the wrong route, whatever.
Right. Cornelius is asking
if you can have some gadget plays with him that aren't going to be that hard for him to know, a handful of stuff. But it's the extended time that they got to feel comfortable that he knows what he's doing. Yep. There was one game where I think Caleb threw a pick or it was a broken up pass or something, and Luther was in the slot and he went the wrong way, and it was obviously Luther that made the mistake, and it was one of the reasons why he wasn't playing as much early.
Absolutely. Cornelius's question is about the interior of the defensive line. You've spoken highly about the free agent acquisitions that they have, and they've added Jordan Vandenberg. So you must be feeling pretty good about this.
I've done a lot of work on those guys. I know they're not household names. And you know what? They're saying the same thing about Biggins a few years ago.
Yeah.
And then, you got to, these guys do their work when they sign these guys. Don't forget that they can give Biggins any money or Billings any money either.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay? What they pay does not mean how good they are. Contavious Street had his best season. Play with DA, had something like 7.5 sacks or something in New Orleans. His second half, he was inactive or on the practice squad much of the first half of last season in Atlanta. Played a lot the second half. He was the best interior lineman on Atlanta's defense last year, second half of the season.
Yeah. D. Starren is asking if there are any concerns about the new offensive coordinator. And the offensive coordinator is Ben Johnson. Right. He's like an assistant offensive coordinator.
Right.
And what he has shared in his first and only press conference so far is he has outstanding organizational skills. And he's going to help Ben tremendously with his access to tape that is properly organized, and he can go back 4 years ago. Hey, I remember a play that this team did, and whatever. He can find that stuff quickly, and that's going to help.
I worked with him his first year
press
in the league. Yeah, but I mean, when he came with he was on Chip Kelly's first year. Kelly's first staff at Philly.
Okay.
So I left after the draft, so I only was with him in the spring. But you knew he was a really sharp guy.
Yeah.
Then.
And
he survived. They fired Chip Kelly, but he survived.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was highly thought of in the building. Went with Peterson down to Jacksonville. He was really running Peterson's offense, but it for whatever reason it didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another thing I trust about Ben. His first year, he put together an outstanding staff. I don't think in the second year, he's going to make any mistakes with who he selects as successors to guys that left for better jobs. So I trust Ben's selection of Press Taylor. I think it's going to be good.
It's not like he hasn't done the job. I mean, he's done the job as a full-fledged coordinator, he's a coordinator in name right now. This is Ben's offense.
Yes. Indeed.
But he's got experience doing it. And the new running back coach is an old running back coach. He was here before. I've worked with him at 2 places. He's really good.
Oh, okay. I'm forgetting his name, the new running backs coach. Somebody help us out in the chat. Who's the running backs coach? And if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. Because if not, we'll let Greg rest his voice. I'm really looking forward to this OTAs. And Greg, maybe next week we should do a show Tuesday or Wednesday after they've got an OTA or two.
I'd like to get, but I'd like to get Herb Howard on.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Eric Strudisville. I work with Eric in New York. I work with Eric here. He's really good.
So yeah, I'll reach out to her.
But the only thing is, if with OTAs, I don't know what times OTAs will start, but it could be, we're doing this.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe the following
but
week.
There's going to be days that, they're only going to have like one viewing day a week.
Right.
Minicamp might be every day, but the OTAs, I think they have one viewing day a week. So, I mean, you can reach out, maybe, for a half hour and see what he knows, what his schedule is going to be and go from there.
Gotcha. We got a couple of questions that have just come in. Will Rome Odunze live up to his hype? I know he had a bad foot last year, but his hands.
He had a broken foot.
He had a broken foot. Greg, and I think you've said this before. When you're playing with an injury, it can affect other parts of the body, like your
Right.
hands, because you're not 100% focused. You're thinking about the
Yeah. I
game.
mean, number one, you're hurting. You're sore. You can't move the way you want to. It does affect your concentration.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who wants to criticize because the guy was trying to play through pain,
Yeah.
to me, it's just ludicrous.
And I don't recall when he played at Washington, his hands ever coming up in scouting reports being an issue. I don't recall that. He and Penix had quite the combo connection going. Another question, Tony Moy, our buddy Tony says, does Greg think they'll add a running back still, maybe like a more elusive running back? We've talked about this a bit.
I think they got the guys they want right now. And you're going to see
this guy, Coleman Bennett. Talk about elusive.
No, he didn't time good,
right?
But
it's like a David Montgomery type.
Fast, yeah. And you're going to see Xavier Thomas playing some snaps at running back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not like why they're doing that, because he's already done it.
Yeah.
He's lined up and played running back in college.
Yep.
So I think they got who they want.
Yeah, I like this Coleman Bennett. I can't wait to see him in camp. Somebody just said that, well, DJ Moore had injuries and he made plays. Yeah, but he also dropped passes too. And his injuries weren't as bad as a broken bone in your foot. So, we got to be fair here. DJ Moore, I was just watching that fourth quarter game against the Green Bay Packers, that dramatic win. They threw a pass. Caleb threw a pass to DJ Moore over the middle that he just plain dropped and late in the fourth quarter. Yep. He came back and
they all had a few drops they never should have had.
Right.
Okay. Right. If you want to pick on somebody, you can find somebody to pick on.
Absolutely.
Nobody's perfect. It's not a perfect game.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, D. Hominator. If you're injured, don't play. I agree with you, but that's easier said than done.
That's a coaching decision, number one, because the coach knows what the guy he's been practicing. The coach knows what he can do hurt.
Mm-hmm. Would you rather have a 90 or 80% Rome Odunze over an Alameda Zacchaeus at 100%? I would rather
he had his share of drops too, and they don't play the same.
He led the team. In one game, he had 3.
They really two different positions.
Right.
But it's Rome Odunze or Ja'Day Walker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. First round pick, 10th pick in the draft versus undrafted free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Talented undrafted free agent.
Very.
And how about this? A lot of people probably still don't know. He only played Division I football 2 years. He was at Grand Valley, Division II in Michigan.
Sounds like a made-up college.
Transferred up from Division II Grand Valley to Texas A&M.
So his potential could be, because what you're telling me is this guy could grow a lot more, given the coaching. Blah, blah, blah.
His workout was phenomenal. He had, I think, his best year at Texas A&M in the 2 years he was there was 39 catches.
Right.
Something like that. A little bit less the other year. I forgot which one was which. But he wasn't like he had a bad season.
Mm-hmm.
But his experience was D2 at Grand Valley and then taking the jump to Texas A&M. And, he's done the right stuff during this offseason. When they were out, all the guys were out in the West Coast working with Caleb. He was one of them.
Yep. Our Rome critic is saying that Odunze cost us a playoff game versus the Rams by not catching what would have been the first touchdown of the game. Can't say that cost us the playoff game. Can't say that. There's I forgot what the scientific rule is. That if you go back in time and say if he would have done this, he would have won that. Well, what would have happened after that would have all been changed too. The Rams might have changed their play calling approach, and it could have. Anything could have happened. Yes, he should have caught that pass. Absolutely.
That shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Right. You can't think that way. It's not realistic. It's not healthy either. So I think Rome is going to have an outstanding year this year, and also judge him for everything he does.
Play better than Rome.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I agree with you. Yes.
Okay, so these guys are competitive creatures.
Mm-hmm.
When they make a mistake, yeah, you're pissed off. They're more pissed off.
Yeah. Levante's going after this guy. Dehominator. I wonder what that means. All right. So, by the way, Greg, did you see the Bears schedule release video where Rome Odunze is playing Bob Ross, the painter? Did you see that?
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I thought it was kind of funny the way he did that.
Yeah, he was great. Now the thing is I don't know Bob Ross very much. I know if he was
Bob Ross, on TV every Saturday morning if you turn
on public TV, right? Public Channel 11 here in Chicago. I just felt like I think that a lot of people are going to be like me and not really know how good of a job Rome did in impersonating Bob Ross and getting the cadence done. So it's not something that young people, the audience you're trying to reach with these release videos, are going to get. So from that standpoint, I didn't think it was a good idea. The execution by Rome and the production team was fantastic, but I just thought the concept was a little ill-advised. Did you see any release videos that you liked?
I in all honesty, I didn't pay attention to them because most of them were probably corny.
Yeah,
I've heard that Arizona's getting some heat over there. So I don't even know what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I remember, but I know the Chargers every year takes shots at people, and so the Chargers this year sort of did. You got to really pay attention because it's a 6-minute video, but they kind of took a shot at Mike Vrabel. And I won't describe it because it's kind of complicated, but they did take a shot at him. Typically the simplest ones are the better ones. Like one that I saw is that they asked fans on the street, hey, are fans that look like somebody famous? Right. Hey, there's Hulk Hogan. Hey, Hulk Hogan. No, I'm not Hulk Hogan. And that was pretty cool. But for the most part, I didn't see any fantastic videos. I'm seeing.
I wonder whose idea it was to begin with. But
the Bob Ross one.
No, just in the league. Who's?
Yeah, because they become popular. Indeed. Yep. Let's see.
But you've got to have a, pretty good and what's the word I want? Creative video department to come up with good stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, you should be working on next year's right now, and coming up with some good ideas.
I actually was thinking about coming up with a video too, but it's just such an involved process, hours and hours of editing. I said, I'm not gonna do that. Not now, anyway. Maybe next year.
So I got to tell you this. So my wife had never seen the opening, because
because she's
till the other day.
Uh-huh.
You know how many times she's watched that opening now?
How many? Like 10?
About 50.
I love it.
And then send it out to maybe another 30 or 40 people.
That's fantastic. I love it. Yeah, we keep getting a lot of praise for that open. And I'm actually going to go in and make some changes because there's that one segment where we got a lot of college football players. I'm going to put some new video in there, but the song is
because they're not really relevant right?
Exactly. So I'll be working on that next week and have it ready. So that'll do it for this show. We will let you all know via our social media channels, and if we're going to do a show on Monday or change it. But the best way to stay on top of stuff, of course, is
One day
to
is
subscribe.
Memorial Day. We ought to change it one day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we'll definitely change it. We'll do it Tuesday or Wednesday. Best way is to subscribe to the Bar Room, and you'll get alerts whenever we schedule the next show. Greg, any final words for our followers?
No,
Your followers?
I think we're good. We're getting into a little bit of dead season, but it's when you're working in the game, it's always important. So
absolutely,
it's what you do now that can be the difference between being successful in September or not so successful.
Yeah. We'll also going to line up some interviews. We're going to ask Herb to come on, and we'll have some other people as well. And there's Tally Brands in the house. Tally Brand, we hopefully got you a new customer. Somebody was asking about the hat, so and I turned them on to you. So with that, we will say goodbye. I think Bear Their Souls is on Wednesday night, so check them out, 8:30 p.m. Central here on the Barroom Network. Take care, Greg. We'll see you next week.
See you later. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.